DJI Mini 3 Pro concerns. Got that coming up next. Bill the Drone Reviewer here. If you like the content of this video or anything on my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. With that, let's begin. The other night I hosted Rotor Talk Live and was joined by co-hosts Mr. Marcus Crawford and Mr. Ron Braun. We spent the better part of the evening discussing all the outstanding concerns regarding the DJI Mini 3 Pro. So without any further ado, let's roll that clip in its entirety. DJI RC will sail single and have update start to support Mavic 3. Okay, that's pretty big news, okay? How about the RC Pro supporting Mini 3? Somebody asked, thank you very much for the attention. Currently, RC Pro only supports Mavic 3 and Air 2S. We've not received any notification of adaptation for other models. Please rest assured and keep attention to our website update notes. I'm sorry, I do sincerely apologize, guys. So that's exciting news, okay? With this, I think that's really exciting news. You know, number one, you'll be able to buy it by itself, okay? And number two, you know, that they're going to have an update, and you know, I'm hopeful that this update is going to correct this range issue that is still plaguing a lot of people out there. You know, I know, you know, because I still see a lot of stuff about this, and you know, and it's real funny because when I was out there the other day when I was filming my videos, you know, I'm trying to pay attention because I have my camera set up on a tripod, my S22 Ultra, and I was trying to face that. Well, I was facing the opposite way the drone was flying with the controller, and it gave me weak signal. So I turned around. As soon as I turned around, I was fine. So that's one of the things you got to need to remember. You know, make sure the orientation that you're flying, that you're facing that direction that the drone is in. I know it's something that most of us, you know, take for granted, but sometimes with some of the more powerful controllers that we have, we just don't pay attention sometimes. So, and that's something, you know, that I think bears repeating. But it's interesting, and I'm really hopeful that DJI is going to get this corrected sooner rather than later. You know, with a software fix, because you know, quite a few people have had this. You know, we know Sean from Air Photography has experienced this, and you know, I know this can be a real headache and a real hassle. So. Yeah, it is Drone Views Media. It is a very directional controller. I agree. You know, and you know, how much did? That's a good question, Ray. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm thinking it's probably going to be about $300. Yeah, Stephen, you know, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree. My guess, you're probably going to see it about 300, 325. I don't think it'll be much more than that, because remember, it's kind of like, you know, and the best way to describe it, it's a stripped down version of the DJI RC Pro. Okay. That's the best way to describe this drone, or this controller. It really is a stripped down version of it. And then, you know, you got to have the SD card in it to reduce your screen recordings. And you got to guess, you know, you got to have, you know, you got to be, there's no antenna with it. Again, you know, there's not a lot of the features that are in the DJI RC Pro. So, you know, it is kind of stripped down. It doesn't have the memory, probably doesn't have the processor, and you can feel it. I mean, it's much lighter when you hold the two, the RC Pro and the DJI RC. You know, there's no comparison. You know, the DJI RC Pro weighs a lot more. So, you know, that's what we're going to see. Okay, Johnny Droneflyer 309. Okay, Johnny. You know, that's the ballpark that I'm really thinking that this is going to be, because you know, roughly, you know, and it's interesting because it kind of puts the drone in that ballpark of about, you know, without the controller, about $700, and that's probably about right as far as pricing is concerned. But you know, again, we're going to talk some more about the Mini 3 coming up here in a minute. $398. It could be JSK Enterprise. It could be. I don't see it going over that though, because that's approaching starting. $400. The price of the drone. I'm going by what the retail price of the drone is without a controller itself, and then kind of taking that into consideration. And I think that's how the pricing it is here. Yeah, Greg, I agree. They will sell a lot if it's around $300. I really believe that. I think that's a very good point. And that's one thing that I want to say. DJI is very smart with their marketing, and I my hat is off to them with this and how they came up with it. Yeah, I agree, Stephen, 100%. How they came up with this whole concept for the Mini 3 Pro, and I think it's a good one. Once again, failure for execution in terms of delivery abilities, capabilities, that type of thing. And we're going to get to the main topic of the night here. The DJI Mini 3 Pro RC concerns. And, one of them, and I know, and I saw, Ron, I received several. Barry Markowitz sends me a lot of emails, and thank you, Barry, for that. I do appreciate them, and I do read them. I just don't respond to every one of them, and I apologize. But there's still, Best Buy. If you ordered yours from Best Buy, yeah, yeah, good news, because they'll show a status and they'll take it away, and there's nothing out there. And I'm so glad I went ahead and I waited to refresh my screen and went ahead and ordered directly through DJI, because those of you who, I feel your pain. And normally through Best Buy, I mean, this is not making a whole lot of sense. Normally through Best Buy, you'd be able to, you would have gotten it by now. And, it's kind of a concern. But of course, for those of you who are still waiting for just the RC Pro or just the DJI Mini 3 Pro with the standard controller and just the DJI Mini 3 Pro by itself, there's still a wait until August. And that's still, a good month out before that'll hit. So, there are some concerns, regarding that. They're still having what I think, logistical concerns in getting these to people. They know everyone wants remotes. So they're going to make money off that remote. They're always a business. Yeah, JSK, exactly right. I agree 100%. And Jaybird, I agree 100%. That's something else. I agree. A lot of people do like using that screen recorder. And for me, that's how I do my videos. And I had to kind of change my workflow. And what I did was I got my S22 Ultra, and I'm standing by it, the side where the microphone is. So, in my video. But what's really incredible, it has a great microphone on it, and it picked up a lot of the outdoor sounds. The birds chirping and a little bit of wind, not too bad. So there he is, Mr. Marcus Crawford. How are you, sir?
William, hanging right in there. Been messing around with this guy a bunch today.
How was it?
Just trying to get it cured. Had to spend about I don't know, probably an hour or a little bit more on a phone call with GoPro support. And let me tell you what they told me, Bill. My complaint is that this guy will shut down and quit recording between 30 seconds and 5 minutes or so. They said, well, if you're shooting in 4K, that's perfectly normal.
Huh?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And I said, well, what about the time up until about a month ago when it would go for a half an hour or more without shutting down? I don't know, but that's we can't we can't replace it. It's a perfectly normal camera.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Wow. Well, I experienced something the other day when I went out and I filmed my videos on the Mini 3 Pro, and I was setting up for my next video, and I left the Mini 3 Pro on the pad. Okay. And it was not more than 3 or 4 minutes, and I was getting ready to take off. It said shutting down to prevent overheating, and it shut it down.
That's completely understandable with that little
Yeah.
drone.
Yeah. And I got to say this, here for us, it's 98, 99, 100 every day right now. Okay. There's no, in the time of day, unfortunately, that I picked, the sun was high in the sky. It was, I definitely needed a shower by the time I was done filming. It was horrendous outside. But I mean, it's a great safety feature that they build in. And I think it's a good thing, versus, something that's being bad. I don't know if you saw my segment a little earlier. Deals Drones reporting that, they're going to be selling the DJI RC by itself. And then they're talking about an update for it. Okay. Well, I'm would bet my bottom dollar that this update is going to take care of this range issue. I would think. I would hope.
Yeah, so. I keep hearing about a range issue. I haven't seen it. Just like people with the Mavic 3, and I know people are having it. Talked about not getting satellites. I didn't have those issues. However, that could be, Bill, but that is exciting news about that RC. Because I will buy an extra one to have with my Mavic 3 if that's the case. If they sell that separately and it's compatible, I will absolutely take advantage of that. And let me tell you that DJI RC has everything I need, as opposed to the RC Pro. I don't think I need all those bells and whistles. So
yeah. Well, one of the other things, and I had started talking about it, and I know Barry shared some. You shared about Barry and his experience. Best Buy is like all over the map right now. They'll change your order status. From at the drop of a hat. I mean, it's all messed up. And it really kind of boggles my mind, Marcus, because usually that was the place to go to. That was the place I would say to everybody. If you're shut out with DJI, go to Best Buy, get it there.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard so many conflicting stories on that, and I don't know if it's a DJI issue or whether it's a supply chain issue. Now, the rest of the world seem to be able to get them. So, there's people saying, hey, it's payback to the United States for all their who really knows? I wouldn't even hesitate to guess, but it is unfortunate. And what it means is you don't know which way to turn on that order day. Do you put in an order with Best Buy like I did with the Mavic 3, or do you put in an order direct with DJI like I did with the Mini 3? Well, in both of those cases, it happened to be the right thing to do, but it's just a wild stroke of luck,
Yeah. I would have thought the complete opposite this time with this release. But the mothership was the one that had them, and others were struggling to get them in. And people still. And the other thing people need to remember too: those that order it with the regular controller and those that ordered it without a controller, they still don't have it yet. Okay, because it's still.
But to be fair, DJI said that at the very beginning.
Right. Yeah. Right. Welcome, Mr. Brown. How are you, sir?
Hey, hello, gentlemen. How are you tonight?
Good. We're talking about the concerns around the Mini 3 Pro, and Barry outlined it real well about the Best Buy scenario. But and Marcus just brought up an excellent point. DJI was upfront about those that ordered just with the regular remote and without a remote that it was going to be August before you would get this. I mean, they were pretty clear, and people are still waiting.
Update me on the Best Buy status. Marcus and I talked off the air a while ago. I heard from somebody that ordered from Best Buy that they got an update in their order today and said it would arrive on July 1st. What have you guys heard?
I've heard several that have said that. I've also heard several that orders status has changed to still back to pending instead of on its way.
Okay.
It's a mixed bag, Ron. It really is with Best Buy.
You heard what Lauren said on Drone Nation last night. It's more than just shipping issues. It's political.
That's what Lauren thinks, and it could be. I mean, the thing is, how do we? There's just no way for us to know.
Well, he kind of mapped out that scenario where somebody, Frank Wang, hired somebody at a high position
From
that used to
Huawei.
work with Huawei.
Right.
And
right.
that guy had a bad taste in his mouth from, the U.S. banning the Huawei equipment a couple of years back.
Yeah.
Okay, did you see Art's post? And I want to talk about that.
Yeah, it was on Facebook.
Yeah, did you see that, Bill?
No, I did not.
He's hoping this is the final time that they get his heart right.
Oh my gosh! Well, thoughts and prayers for sure. Art, thanks for posting that. Appreciate that. That's wow. Don't like hearing that at all. That's just not good news. Yeah. Okay. Lauren's probably touched on something there as far as that's concerned. But the thing that really kind of and I'm just throwing this out there because I know a lot of people are still very frustrated because they don't have theirs yet. And the one thing that I have to say about that is, if it was totally political, and I'm just going in this direction for a second, okay, it would have affected it coming into the United States, period, even through DJI. So why Best Buy hasn't gotten them?
Well, I think he means political from the other end.
Oh,
that DJI is punishing, the U.S. by only making the drone available from them directly.
That makes a lot of sense. Because I think what they were probably trying to do is to tell Best Buy, look, you go ahead and you try to sell these drones earlier than you're supposed to. This is what's going to happen. And I think they're probably paying the piper for this.
Of course, the problem is, where's the communication breakdown? Did Best Buy, why did they think they were going to have these units earlier? I mean, where does the communication break down? Did DJI tell them that they would have the drones on a certain date and DJI dropped the ball, or did Best Buy overpromise? We just don't know, the nuts and bolts of, and I'm throwing in all the other U.S. retailers besides Best Buy. Why did they think that DJI was going to send these units? Did DJI tell them that, or did they just assume that?
Yeah, that's a real good question, Ron. It's like, a lot of people want, like I said, they're waiting for them and they're frustrated. And I don't blame them because, you've paid your money. Now, most of the people I know that ordered the packages that we have ordered have theirs. Okay.
Yes.
That's one thing that's part and parcel. Go ahead, Marcus.
Well, I was just going to say, and Ron, I'd like you to chime in on this. So one of the things that were different between what Ron and I did, and I'm not sure about you pointing the wrong way, Bill, is I ordered both the Flymore, the extended battery Flymore package, and my drone at the same time, and I got it, relatively quickly. I think, a few days after some people got it, but within the
I got mine a couple of days ahead of you.
Yeah, but and you got, and Ron, you ordered the two of them separately, correct?
Yeah, not on purpose, just because that's the only way I could do it.
Right, but you just recently then got your Flymore package. And yeah. Bill, how about you? How did yours?
I kind of did the same thing as Ron. Okay, I ordered just the drone, and then I ordered the Flymore, and I was lucky because they both shipped at the same time. Exactly.
Now the thing
that's odd, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the real odd thing, Marcus, is okay. When you and I both ordered that the Mini 3 Pro, I'm just about the drone now. On that, I'm going to say before 9 a.m. in the morning that day, we never saw a estimated ship date. Never saw it. Despite what anybody said in the chat, you and I never saw the estimated ship date up there. But 2 or 3 days later, when I ordered the Flymore kit, I had a date of July 13th immediately. Like I knew July 13th from at the moment of ordering or whatever. The moment the order was completed, I knew July 13th. So they delivered about maybe 2 to 3 weeks ahead of that July 13th date. But why did we get a date on? Why did I get a date on the fly market, but you and I did not get a date on the drone itself?
Yeah, and Alan and Stephen are making good comments, talking about how Europe got it ahead of us, which for
more than punishing the U.S.
Yeah, who does? The thing is, who really knows?
It goes to Lawrence. You're thinking there, yes.
Yeah, and it's very possible. However, anyway, but I just think it's interesting now that Ron, that you and Bill did exactly the same thing, but had two very different experiences. And then also our friend Dr. B, Ted Bowman, he is, I believe, is still waiting for his. I don't think he's even got his yet. No. Ted, if you're still in the chat, and let us know if you've heard it, whether yours is even shipped yet or not.
One of the things that I do know, and I got a lot of messages from people that were telling me this, like they asked DJI support to break up their order, and they did that for them. Okay, like they separated the Flymore kit from the drone, and they actually got the drone faster. Okay, the drone came before the Flymore kit, but it's all over the place. It's right. Like somebody dropped their grenade and boom, it's just everywhere. You can't figure it out.
It's like we order from mom and pop outfit or something. And, and it's one guy running the stock room, and he never does the same thing twice.
Hey, did you see what Ted is saying in the chat? He's saying his Flymore kit's going to arrive tomorrow, but still no word on the drone. So he's going to have the Flymore kit before he gets the drone.
Yeah, that one guy's getting confused again.
Yeah, which is the opposite of you, Ron. So it just tells me, I think it's a big supply chain cluster. You know what? That's what I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look what Stephen Ewing said. Amazon UK, get it by this Friday.
Yep.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
Just
and here to add to all this, Bill, every time a DJI drone comes out, there's a different ordering strategy. Remember a couple years ago, the Mini one, you ordered from Best Buy and got yours first or whatever. I ordered from DJI and got mine last or whatever. So every drone changes now. Now, if you order from DJI, you get yours first. If you order from anybody else, you get yours never.
Yeah.
It's never. Every release is a totally different animal as far as how you get your equipment. Unlike Apple again, when a new iPhone comes out, the iPhones, your Apple store has it the same day. Your carrier, whether you're Verizon or T-Mobile or AT&T, they all have it today. It's all, and you can use the same strategy every single time you get your phone. You don't have to. What do you call an audible every new phone?
Well, I'll relate my experience in getting my new iPad. Okay. It was, they said like 3-day shipping. All right. From Verizon. I got it in like 2 days. Okay. It was, it was on, and it's, and they make it a seamless process because I had paid off the other one and I had sold it by then, but as soon as I powered it on, it was ready to go. And there was nothing I needed to do. It was all set. It was ready to rock and roll.
I see 107 Drones is saying the items may be shipping from different origins, which is very true, which I think kind of goes to the point that it's kind of a supply chain cluster. Now, mine all came in the same box from the same place.
And Mikey's did too. He was showing me the day he got the box. It was exactly like yours. And the funny thing is, the drone's always shrink wrapped, and the Flymore kit's always not shrink wrapped.
Right.
Well, what was in mine were both from California, same address in California.
In Cerritos, California. Yeah.
In Cerritos. Yep. But both of them. I double checked the box.
But you got it in 2 separate boxes, right, Bill?
Right, I got it in 2 separate boxes. But they were both on my doorstep at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, they both had different tracking numbers too.
Yeah, mine was all in the same box, so I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's definitely odd.
Yeah, it's just one of the other things I wanted to talk about real quick here with it was I tried the vertical mode and I got a video coming out on that. I'll tell you what, that vertical mode will be perfect for putting out on your Instagram apps and TikTok and other ones like that. It's perfect. It is absolutely perfect. And I was impressed with the clarity of it and how clear it was. I mean, it was it was a good shoot. And the other thing that, I thought, when it starts to land, it's going to revert back. No, it stays vertical until you change it over, which I really like that. Have you guys tried the vertical yet?
Bill,
Yeah.
I haven't tried it yet, but are you a big TikToker? Am I missing out? Am I missing out?
No, I haven't. I'm gonna put some stuff on Instagram though. I'm not on. I may start getting on TikTok because I heard it helps with exposure. So whatever on that.
No, great idea. And all kidding aside, I totally agree. And Ron, you've said you've tried it as well.
Yeah.
I need to try it, and it, like I said, hey, it's perfect. Say you're going to do a video that you're going to put up on YouTube. Before you actually shoot that video, you could do a really quick short in that vertical mode that you could throw on Instagram and throw on TikTok. You know, good idea.
We'll also throw it on YouTube Shorts too.
What's the Facebook thing called? It's like Shorts. They all have the vertical shorts now. Facebook has it too.
Facebook Reels.
No, that's Instagram Reels.
Oh,
but Facebook has vertical videos too. They're right. They throw them right at you. I can't miss them.
Is it on Facebook Story? Is that
Could be?
Yeah, I think
the Facebook Stories. That's what that is.
Yeah,
but they're all vertical.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing to the vertical. You just hit the button and you hit record or take the photo, whatever. It's nothing. There's no learning curve. It's nothing to get used to it. In fact, Marcus mentioned the video applications, but for taking a picture, you want to take a picture of a tall, thin building, like if you're in front of the Empire State Building, we probably can't find that. But you know what I mean? A vertical thing to get like a tall building. You're in the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Rome or something like that. You want that, that nice vertical picture.
You know what the best application I've seen so far is our friend Philly Mikey, where he's in front of Billy Penn. Did you see that one, Ron?
Yep, exactly.
That was perfect. What a perfect way to show it. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Paul G puts down, there's been shown Mini 3 roll of heat on a hot day. It's moving slowly, hovering for prolonged video or photo shoots.
So you need to understand that DJI only rates that drone for 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So, for instance, today in Boise, it was 103. So we were right on the edge of where that could be.
Yeah, I've seen no overheating issues flying it in normal 80-degree temperatures.
Yeah, and listen,
everybody's definition of hot is different, but in an 80-degree sunny day, I've seen no overheating issues.
Well,
during flight,
I was telling Marcus before you joined, Ron, that when I was switching between takes the other day when I was out there flying. And I had the Mini 3 on there. It wasn't more than 5 minutes tops. And I got a message coming up on the screen to prevent overheating. Your Mini 3 Pro is shutting down automatically.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Which is a good thing. A lot of people are like, oh, it's shutting down. No, I'm like, it's a simple, push the power button back on kind of thing. But no, and it was warm. It was warm when I picked it up.
It was on the ground when it said that.
Yeah, it was on the ground.
Okay. Yeah, it's scared the air. Well, you know that the latest firmware update now turns Wi-Fi and Bluetooth off as soon as you kind of get everything booted up, which is because that does two things. It not only helps the heating issue, but it also supposedly helps to get better signal. But the downside of that is if you don't have your maps cached, you don't have maps or whatever. So if you fly in the same spot every day, like if you fly at your house, you're fine because your maps are probably already cached there. But if you go to a new location, that means you have to go back in and turn Wi-Fi back on again, cache the maps, and that eats up more time than you think or whatever, and now you're back to almost like the GPS issue where you got to wait a few minutes to take off.
Or Ron, once you turn the thing on, you can turn Wi-Fi back on.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. You can, and then you can cache it. You can turn the Wi-Fi right back on. But at that point, then the wait for your maps to cache in, it doesn't happen instantly. Like they don't come in that fast, and then again, you're back there. You can't fly for a minute or two while you're waiting for these maps to cache. And that's the longest minute or two in the world when you're sitting there.
It is
for these maps to come in.
That's why they gave us that endurance battery, right, Ron?
Well, exactly. But we're back. But we're right back to what the Mavic 3 when it wouldn't get GPS fast. You're standing there waiting. But the other thing, Bill, is that update did it allowed the drone also to turn off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and even like things like the gimbal function and obstacle avoidance, all that. So when you're doing the what do you call the remote transfer over, the quick transfer over, the drone will not heat up on the desktop anymore because of that feature. And I got a little bug that a couple of people reached out to me. I haven't got a chance to test it. They say that during quick transfer, you cannot move video you took a Decentralize over. It'll tell you the do it on the memory card or something. It will not. Again, I haven't tested this, but more than I can't tell you how many people, maybe half dozen told me you can't quick transfer Decentralize video from the Mini 3.
Who shoots in Decentralize? I mean, honestly.
Yeah, just those pros.
Yeah.
Did you see 107 Drones' comment? So what happens when you do a time lapse? As far as the overheating is concerned, that's an interesting point.
Well, I've
done. Marcus, I think both done it. I haven't seen it.
That's well, because they talk about having the drone needing to be moving, but also too, if you're up at about 100 feet, let's say, because I normally, most of my videos between 100 and 150 feet. Yeah. Because that's where I get the best quality of the images in video.
And I'm not trying to say 107 is not having these issues or whoever have it. I'm sure they're having issues, but that's the crazy thing with drones nowadays. One has them, one doesn't.
It's the same thing with GoPros, Ron.
Yeah, it affected the GoPro. But again, I'm not denying any of this stuff's happened to these people. But again, that's the crazy thing. It varies from unit to unit or whatever, country to country.
Yeah. Well, for me right now, it's like I have to plan, and I went at possibly the worst time of day on Sunday to go out to fly. I went out at about 11 a.m. Okay, because the sun is just starting to peak overhead. UV rays are just horrific at that point in time. And it's just stinking hot. Well, one of the other things that a lot of us don't realize is, and I think a couple of the apps do show it. Up at certain altitudes, what the wind speed is up there, because while the drone may not be moving, there's wind up there, and there's air is getting through there. Okay, so I don't think it's gonna like overheat like it would be like on the ground kind of a thing or close to the ground. I think when it's up in the air like that, because of the circulation of the air up there, I think it's forcing air through the drone. So I think we'll be okay with that.
And let's also look at the positive side of what DJI has provided us here. They've provided us a little sub 250 gram drone that has phenomenal flight time, takes 4K 60 frames per second video. And by the way, all this creates heat. All of it takes processing power to do that. And yet still, we have that endurance battery that we can get 40 plus minutes flight time, or even the regular battery. They're saying 32 or 33 minutes flight time. Reality, you're getting probably 25 or something like that. That's pretty good. And I will take that as a trade-off for not having big heat sinks or a big fan in that drone.
Yeah. Good points, Marcus. And you kind of touched on it. I suspect that a lot of people that have the overheating issues with flying are flying in 4K 60. They're flying in sport mode. They're doing a lot of stuff in combination that probably make it run a little hotter or whatever. Hey, I'll say 4K 60 sport mode. And what do you say, Marcus, when you go full throttle on the sticks? What's your expression?
Yeah, full stick forward.
Yeah. They're probably doing all that for a long period of time to help heat the drone up.
Hey, let me run this one by you, Ron and Bill both. So I've seen people that get that warning on their screen that I believe it says
overload.
Overload the motors or something like that.
I've got it.
There is nobody heavier on the stick than me, and I have never got that warning. And so that kind of speaks to maybe the difference between units, right, Ron?
Exactly. A drone pilot has some information for us, Bill. What was he saying there? Said that the public 27th of next month, but resellers should get prior to the public.
What is he even talking about?
He's talking about, he was asking if individual batteries had gone on sale. Single batteries by themselves. Right now it's only multiple batteries or batteries are only available through like the Flymore kit or the drone itself at this point. And I think that's what they've done is they've kind of saved that. And they probably did the same thing. They wait until a certain point in time before like the DJI RC will be available for sale, and then batteries will be available for sale. That's because they're saving them for the actual units themselves.
Bill, remember the Mini 2 was the same way, right?
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't. It was months before batteries were widely available.
Yeah.
You brought up a good point about a drone shooting 4K 60 frames per second in 40 plus minutes of flight time. I'm like, because I'm thinking about this, because back in the day, Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 was the only drone that DJI had at that point in time that would shoot 4K 60 frames per second, commercial drone or consumer drone. All right. But think about it. Think how far it's come since the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 and now there's a mini drone, unbelievably compact, and it's shooting 4K 60, and you're getting run times over 40 minutes with this.
You make a good point. Remember, for years people complained that the Mavic Pro 2 didn't even have 4K 60.
And I also one of the
things I want to address Lauren's comment here to Marcus is saying here. Point. That's a good comment, Lauren. But I have got the sense the overload thing, and it always happens when I go in sport mode. So and maybe it still could be the props. Maybe the bend doesn't affect until you go into sport mode. But I've only seen it in sport mode, and my props. I mean, this happened to me on one of the first flights or two. My props were perfect then.
And Ron, I'm always in sport mode, and I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. So I mean, it's very interesting where a lot of these with what's going on right now, because there's a whole myriad of things going on with the Mini 3 Pro, and it's been people have been so consumed by this, it's just like waiting for some sense of normalcy, I guess is what I'm saying.
Hey, Bill, I want to make one more point with regard to the Mini 3 Pro and battery life. That endurance battery that we're getting over, they're advertising over 40 minutes. I've personally flown mine pretty close to that on that endurance battery. And so often when people will ask me, okay, should I buy the Air 2S or the Mini 3 Pro? Because they're fairly close in price. I typically will always point them towards the Air 2S because you've got a 1-inch sensor. You have a more powerful drone if you don't need a 250-gram drone. However, one of my commenters pointed out to me, said, Marcus, what about flight time? And he was absolutely right. The Air 2S, if you're heavy on the stick like I am, I've had a number of batteries that I got 18 minutes out of, not even 20 minutes. The Air 2S doesn't have the flight time that the Mini 3 Pro does. So it's another dynamic that you need to think about that DJI engineered into that product for us. That's a bonus.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. The battery life for the Air 2S is about the same as the Mini 2.
Exactly right.
Yeah. And also, that's one big thing, but also you already touched on the vertical video sets. Two things on the Mini 3 Pro side.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point.
The benefits of this drone, I mean, even looking at, putting a lot of stuff aside, the concerns that we've had, I'm looking at the quality of the video and how sharp and crisp and clear it is just coming out of the way it is. No, nothing post, any, no filters on the drone or anything. Just looking at it, it's really crisp.
The color profile is much better on this than the Mini 2.
It is, and it's like, who's a great evaluator of it? You know what I do when I download them off the drone and I bring them up and I put them on my, I have a 43-inch Samsung as my main monitor over here. And what I'll do is I'll bring it up, and who's a great eye for this? I'll have Valerie. Hey, can you come here, sweetheart, and take a look at this? And she does. And she's like, wow. Okay. Just looking at it, just right out of the SD card, just, before I even put it in there. She's like, is this? Yeah. I said, this is what I shot today. And she's like, wow, that's impressive. Okay. And it's very impressive. I am really impressed with this. And how it flies, it amazes me how well it flies. Okay. How it handles itself out there. I haven't had any issues at all with stability, maneuverability, and just, I'm just what it does extremely well, and it does a lot of things extremely well.
It's not quite as fast as the Air 2S, right, Marcus?
No, no. The Air 2S is far more powerful and
Yeah.
and it is faster. However, you do pay that penalty battery
Battery life, yeah.
But one of the things that has happened to me recently is I've flown some other drones back to back with that DJI Mini. I flew the Femi X8 the other day. I flown the Hudson Mini. I always thought those drones handled pretty good and were pretty stable. When you fly it back to back with any DJI drone for that matter, the difference is dramatic. You really see what DJI does with their flight controls and the stability that they put in their drones. It's phenomenal stuff.
Question of the day. What did you think of the DJI Mini 3 Pro concerns? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, it's a great day to fly.